Alright, so let us talk about Shen. Vendetta has been out for a while. I've been testing Shen out. I've been doing finding ways to make him work, and this is where let's talk about where I am at right now. So this is gonna be different from the usual ones where I usually do a vlog. I go to a Nexus night to show you what the games are like, how it goes, and how it competes with other decks, other people who are playing it competitively. And this is different because your boy is getting married this weekend. If I do get this out early, it should be this weekend. So I don't really have enough time to go and play, join Nexus Dice because we're really preparing a lot. No, that's besides the point. I just want to talk about where I am at, where the deck is at right now, and how I feel about Shen. If you watched my previous video where I used my day one Shen deck at the Nexus Night, which didn't perform as well as I'd hoped. I'll show you what the difference is with that deck and the current one that I have right now. Let's compare the two. We'll start off with meditation. So with meditation, you get to draw two, but as I mentioned in the previous video, you lose movement because you have to exhaust a unit to use it if you want to draw two. Or you can not exhaust a unit, but it's like a waste to not do that because you're using a card to just draw. So I feel like it's a waste to have that if you're just gonna draw one. And I thought it was gonna be useful because when you're holding, you don't really need to move units around because you want them to stay where they are at and hold. So the biggest problem with that is the loss of movement. Sometimes you don't want to just force your unit to stay at the battlefield. Sometimes you want to retreat them defensively because you don't really have anything to protect them. You don't want to lose that battlefield and a unit just because you don't have anything to survive. Sometimes you'd want to retreat a unit, and meditation removes that chance. So to fix that, sort of, I have Emperor's Divide, which is really good in holding decks because sometimes you will have to retreat, and that lets you survive. Let a unit survive when you really have no chance of winning, and it gives you an offensive turn for your next turn because you can attack with a unit that you retreated. So with the Emperor's Divide and needing to draw, I put in 3 Stellar Corns. And from the games that I've been playing, from online testing, from some of the casual play, Stellar Corn with Emperor's Divide is really nice because, you're replacing a spell with a unit. And when you're holding, it's always good to have more bodies. If you're not using bodies, you want a spell that is letting you have like some sort of defense. If you want to go defense or offense, so meditation removes that. It's just purely for draw. So I replace that with a body, and it lets me draw more. For the times that I've been playing this, I've gotten more out of Stella Corn compared to meditation because with Stella Corn, you can, if you put it in base, next turn move it to a battlefield, and then defensively you can rotate it with Emperor's Divide. So that's 2 draws already. And then that I think like that's more useful than compared to meditation because it's a body. Replacing meditation with Celacorn so far feels so much better, especially since I'm using Emperor's Divide. So that's good. And then I had 3 Aurelias. So Aurelia Fervent, it's really good with Shen's ability because Shen doesn't cost anything. It's an action speed. You just tap it and then it selects Aurelia. So if you're using the battlefield with that gives tanks +1, Aurelia goes from 4, gets +2. So from 4 to 6 because the tapping Shen gives Aurelia tank, which gives her +1 because of the battlefield. And then because Shen selects Aurelia, it chooses Aurelia, you get +1. So Aurelia becomes a 6 body. So which is really nice. It doesn't cost anything. The reason I replaced her is because she is 5 energy. And I think replacing her with Keeper of Law, this one, the new unit from Vendetta, where it says I cost 2 energy and 1 power less if you control a battlefield with exactly 2 units there. So having 2 units at the battlefield, which is very easy. It's very easy to have a battlefield with 2 units with this deck, especially with Trevor and Sprite, or you can have 2 small bodies like two costs, Mournful Witness and Shen. So it's very easy with this deck, and from all the games I played, it's very easy to have a battlefield with 2 units. This goes from a 5 energy, 1 power to a 3 energy unit. So this is nice because when you're playing defensively, or at least with the deck I'm using, which is very defensive if you're trying to hold, it's very important to have more energy up so you have combat abilities. You're able to, you have combat tricks, is what I mean. So on your opponent's turn, you have more energy up to, let's say, use discipline, to use defy, to not ambush, react with Shen. So having more energy up lets you play more defensively, especially if you're using a whole deck. From a 5 energy unit, which is Aurelia, goes down to a 3 energy unit with Keeper of Law. It gives me more ways to defend myself on my enemy's turn. And this is a 5 might unit. So it's a big unit for a 3 energy. So I really like being able to do that. That's why I replaced Aurelia with Keeper of Law. And then you'll see I only have 2 because the other one I replaced with another charm. The reason why I replaced the charm is because I replaced Blitz. So I had Blitz and I really liked Blitz coming in every turn and then killing the tempo of the enemy. If your enemy has a unit that is less than 5 or even less than 6 with the battlefield, because Blitz becomes a 6 might unit. You can kill their tempo if you play it, pull in an enemy unit and just kill the enemy's tempo because they lose a unit by just you placing Blitz. And Blitz has a big body. So the reason why I replaced Blitz is because if you don't pick up Honey Fruit, it's really hard to gain tempo. You sort of gain tempo, you sort of kill your enemy tempo, but you don't gain enough tempo because you're always paying 1 power if you don't have Honey Fruit. So if you're always paying 1 power, you're always up 1 energy when it's your turn because you're minus 1 power whenever you play Blitz. So for example, you're at 6 energy, you play Blitz, so you go back to 5 energy, and then your next turn you go to 7. And then if you use Blitz again because you want to kill your enemy's tempo, from 7 you go back down to 6. You're always subtracting 1. So you're 2 energy whenever you're channeling only becomes 1 energy basically because of Blitz. So even though that's really good, that I was enjoying it, it's hard you don't gain enough tempo by replaying Blitz over and over again if you don't pick up your Honey Fruit. So it'd be different if I had Seal of I think Focus, the green seal, so I can just use that to pay for Blitz every time. But I don't have that. So I replaced Blitz with another combat trick, which I think is nice for this because if you want to hold, you want to play defensive. I replaced Blitz with Vi. So Vi is good defensive because you're able to stun a unit. So you can also play this offensively. So I like Vi because Vi is both defensive and offensive because she has ambush. So on your turn, you can enter with a small unit and then ambush with Vi to overcome an enemy's battlefield because you have stun. And then even if they have a unit that's kind of big, you get rid of you don't really get rid of the might, but you stun them. So it's easier for you to take over that battlefield. Or on your turn, if they attack, you get a stun off because you can play Vi. So she's really good, both offensive and defensive. That's why I replace Blitz with her. Only have two because for the other cases, if I really need a big body, because I don't have a big body in uh this deck. The biggest body I had was Blitz with Battlefield, which goes to 6, or Shen with a Battlefield with a tank Battlefield because Shen has Shield 2 and then +1 because Shen is tank. So Shen goes to 6 with I think it's Kenku Temple. But that was my biggest body. So in the other cases where I just really need a much stronger hold, I replaced the one Blitz with a Vilemo. So Vilemo, I've been hearing this. Vilemo is good as a holder because Vilemo is an 8 might, and then enemy units here with less might than me don't deal combat damage. So if your enemy has like lots of bodies that add up to become like a big might when it's attacking, it doesn't matter if you have a Valmo because Valmo is able to shut that down. You also are able to draw by holding. So I like this because you get some sort of draw engine from it. So I only have one because it's really expensive. It's an 8 energy 2 power unit. And it's useful in some cases, but I only have one of it because I don't want to draw it too many times. These are the ones that replaced Blitz. The 2 Vice and the Valmo. So lets me play more defensively because it has ambush. Also has both defensive and offensive because of ambush on both Vi and Valmo. And then I removed the 2 calls. I removed 2 back offs. So for those, I replaced the back off with cannon. The reason why I removed back off because there were times where if I picked up back off, I would have to worry about think about, do I want to mulligan if I pick up back off turn 1. If I do mulligan back off, I lose a defensive spell. But if I don't mulligan back off and I don't pick up a unit in the first turn, because there were games in the previous video where my first 2 turns were rough because I didn't have enough units. Cannon is able to somewhat solve that because he is a body. So I can play him for 3 energy, wherein if I had back off, it's not a body, but ultimately it's sort of a back off replacement because it stuns, cannon stuns, and you can play cannon, you can hide cannon and then play him on your opponent's turn, pay 2 and then stun. You can also use cannon both defensive and offensively because whenever he attacks, you can just pay 2 and then stun. So I only have 1 cannon because I already have 2 Vice. I don't need too many of those. So to replace those cards, to replace those spells, I added Sona because, she's able to play more defensively. You have more combat tricks when you have more energy up on your turn. And you can protect her, very easily. Very easily with your other cards. With Discipline, with Shen reaction, with your stuns, with Kennen and Vi. So I think she's really nice to be able to have more ways to play defensively on your enemy's turn, which so far has been doing okay for me for the games that I've played. I really like Sona, especially with green, yellow, and especially with holding. I think she's good to be able to have more energy up to defend yourself when it's your enemy's turn. So Sona, another body. Those are the ones. Those are the main ones that I think really matter for this deck. As you'll see, ultimately, it's adding more bodies to this deck. We're replacing the not the replacing the meditation with Stella Corn, and then replacing back off with Cannon. So I have more units, I have more bodies that I can play. So that's where I'm at. And so far, I've had decent games online, but that's like online. That's Rift Atlas. I'm not always playing against the most competitive decks and not the most experienced players. I just want to share this. I don't really know how this compares in a competitive setting. But I wanted to get this video out because I won't be able to play much in the next days, in the next week, because I'm very busy. This is where my deck is at. If you want to see the full deck list, I'm gonna put it down in the description so you can see there. And then I want to know your opinions on what you feel about this deck or what you feel about Shen. I think Shen, there are cases, there are times where Shen is useful with the new battlefield because you give +1 to one of your units if you give it tank because of your Shen's legend ability. But it doesn't come up that often. Whenever I'm playing it, I'm not using Shen's legend ability that much. There are use cases for it, but it doesn't always come up. But yeah, after all this, after the wedding, after the honeymoon, after when I'm free, I'm gonna test this out. I'm gonna do another video. I'll let you know how this actually fares against actual real people, competitive. If when I join Nexus Knights, or if I'm able to join a skirmish, I'll let you know what this is like. But let me know what you think about Shen, what you feel about this deck list, or what you think a good deck list for Shen is. I know your thoughts. Put it down in the comments below. Don't be toxic to other people who are giving their opinions. I want this to be a toxic free community. So be nice to everyone. I just want to hear your thoughts. Let's just have a discussion. That is my current Shen situation. Let me know what you feel, and then I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully, when I am able to test this deck out at the Nexus Night or the skirmish, somewhere more competitive. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you don't, it's fine. Or whatever your vibe is. But you might also want to consider subscribing and then check out my other content. I'll try to do more vlogs again soon because I think those are the ones that people are enjoying, especially when I'm playing the non-meta legends. So there you go. I'll see you next one. Peace. Bye-bye.